Welcome back to Caffeine Confessionals. My name is Geary, and today we have a Challenge 40 Battle of the Eras cast member interview with Paulie. We talk about his most recent elimination. We talk about Cara and Laurel's relationship with Laurel and Bananas. We talk about his wardrobe, his OnlyFans even. We talk about a whole lot of stuff in this interview, but it was only 15 to 20 minutes. I wish we could talk for longer because there's so much stuff going on in the challenge world involved with Paulie that it would be fun to talk about one day. Hopefully, we get to do a longer podcast in the future. But for now, we got a 20-minute interview for you all to watch. Jump into it, enjoy, have a good time. All right, everyone. We're joined by the least controversial, most boring cast member in challenge history, six-time reality TV loser, former Rutgers soccer player, Paulie Calafiore.
Oh man, the six-time reality TV loser. It's getting up there. I'm becoming the Dan Marino of reality competition shows at this point.
You made it on 6 times, though. You made it on. You know what?
That's fair. Listen, I'll take the wins where I could get them. All right.
You know, along other illustrious reality TV names like Kenny Clark and such. You've all made it onto the challenge.
We've all made it on the challenge. Good old Kenny Clark. I'm glad that I'm in here with such a illustrious, really, 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 prominent names.
And what's tough is that this is episode 2, so the fact you're here for the exit interview obviously means, for people at home watching, you've lost. Again, unfortunately. The thing we got to talk about first, though, is your wardrobe. Because that's what everyone talks about, your first time on screen on USA on this season. Like, what the hell is he wearing? And the craziest part of it is you haven't gone very far on the show, so we're not even seeing half the wardrobe.
Listen, the thing that I'm most upset about is how early I've gone on 2 of these seasons, because my wardrobe, I packed the wardrobe being like, all right, at this point, I'm going to start wearing this. At this point, I'm going to start wearing this. And you guys haven't even seen a fraction of my closet.
Yeah, your post-elimination wardrobe is crazy, and it hasn't even been unlocked.
Oh, my God. I had, at this point, good. I'm glad because if the one thing that could keep people talking is my wardrobe and not my performance, take it.
Oh, do we got to talk about that? Do you want to jump straight into that?
No. We could save it till the end.
No, we're gonna jump into that right now because
we'll jump into it.
So, at what point in the elimination did you know you were fucked?
I would say first impact. I got my bell rung, so I knew I was concussed. Basically, right after that first impact, I knew I only really had one. I had 2 options, well, 3, but I kind of got rid of the third one pretty fast. I was like, can I jump over him? And with how big the Hall Brawl was, sometimes you get longer Hall Brawls, sometimes you get shorter Hall Brawls. This was a shorter Hall Brawl. And I did not think that I could get enough steps to be grounded and jump over him without risking him like clipping my knee, clipping my ankle, and risking a terrible injury. Plus, also he's 6'6", so I was like trying to do the math of like, all right, if he gets down even half as low, do I have like a 3-foot plus leaping vertical jump? I'm like, on my best day, sure. Option 2 was, once again, if it was longer and I could kind of see where he was going to be lining up, could I sprawl back, try and make it a wrestling match in the middle of the hall, try and tire him out, and try and go round for round. But with it being how short it was, I was like, this guy's a former Olympic sprinter. He's going to be off the gate fast. My only chance is to try and get lower than him and hope that I'm not too low to compromise my strength. And I mean, to the kid's credit, he got low. Like, I didn't expect him to get that low, especially after analyzing his first Hall Brawl he ever did. He went super high. So I was kind of banking on the fact that he was going to go with that same strategy. And after that first hit, I mean, listen, when you get hit by somebody that's coming in 265, he wasn't the same 200-pound Theo that I saw on War of the Worlds 1 and 2. And, I was 170 at the time. So giving up that much weight, I felt it with that hit.
He's so fast too, still down the hallway too. What I always tell people is, like, when people talk about Fessy in these Hall Brawls, I'm like, you don't get that Fessy's getting down the hallway faster than his opponents on top of being bigger than him. So you have to deal with the speed plus that aspect, like the margin for error is so small. I do have a question, and it's always been like a Hall Brawl theory I've had. Is there a rule that you cannot baseball slide into your opponent's like shin? Is that like a rule? Because I've always wondered why has no one just. I mean, obviously it's dirty, and you could hurt your opponent's shin like basically real bad, but I've never seen anyone try it.
Super dirty. I think there's not a rule against it. So it's a good theory to have. I think the only reason why it hasn't been done is because, I think there's a certain level of ethics that everybody goes into the Hall Brawl with. And, I think everybody, when they're at the end of the Hall Brawl, they're like, this is a Hall Brawl. This is a challenge staple. We got to give the people what they want in this. And what they want to see is two people running into each other full speed.
Definitely. That I would say I agree with you there. I've just always because I've thought about it myself, like because I'm 5'6" and I'm slow, so I'm like I've always thought like how the hell would I even win one? And that's the only idea I've ever come up with, but I've just never seen it happen. I've just assumed that's banned because it's
Yeah.
dirty.
There was a thought in my mind before TJ blew the horn because I saw how low he was lining up. And I was like, should I just kind of trot in like 3 feet and just stand here and wait to embrace impact? But I was like, man, you know what? There's a lot of history here. I think we should just run into each other as hard as we can and, see who comes out on top. And clearly he did. So, I mean, I give him credit for changing up his strategy. Even afterwards, I was like, dude, I didn't expect you to get that low. And he was like, hey man, my strategy was to take 2 steps and dive as low as possible and as hard as I could into you. He goes, because you were staring down my soul like you wanted to kill me. And I was like, man, so if I would have just not stared you down like that, like you wouldn't have ran like that. He goes, no, absolutely not. And I was like, all right, I'll remember that for next time. I'll give you butterfly eyes next time.
So what was going on between you two? Because obviously there was the beef between you guys on World of Worlds 2. It continues on here, but if you're on Challenge social media, during the time you guys were both not on the show, you guys were still kind of on Twitter. And at one point, you guys were even hyping each other up, like bring back the US King of the Challenge, Paulie. Like he was tweeting stuff like that out. So I've just assumed that you guys had like buried the hatchet and were friends, yet suddenly on this season, the drama's back.
Yeah, I think that, when it comes to people like me, when it comes to people like Theo, Jordan has this mindset. Like, even though Jordan and I were at ends, War of the Worlds 2, Theo and I were at ends, War of the Worlds 2, we don't really carry that into social media because it's like, where is that going to get us? And ultimately, it's like, I do want to see people like that on the show, right? Like, I like those competitors. It gives me something to look forward to going into a show. And I think that they share the same sentiment when it comes to me. I mean, Theo sent me messages after World Champs being like, I had really nobody to argue with because you weren't there. And like, I hate you as a game player. And like, I hate Theo as a game player. Like he's an annoying fuck in the house, but his banter on social media is funny. Like Jordan's a good guy. You know what I mean? Like in the house, he's a fucking prick. You know what I mean? And I think like where Theo and I are at is like, we come in and we're like, all right, are we going to do this now? Or are we going to try and do what's best for the team and handle this later? And then I think what ended up happening is we were both like, fuck it. Let's just do it now. Like it was piking up. There was a lot of conversations that happened between me, Michelle, Horacio, ultimately when it came down to it, when I heard that Theo wanted me, I was like, you fucking little prick. All right. Well, one of the things that I regret the most is on War of the Worlds 1, when I had the option to throw myself down, against Kyle and just settle everything there, I listened to Cara and she kind of talked me out of it being like, hey, you don't want to do this close to a final. And it's a decision that I regretted for a long time because that's not really me. And even though that was the smarter decision at that time, I was sitting here being like, I'm not making that same mistake twice. I'm not going into this deliberation knowing that he's been saying this and try and play like the big brother politics of like, hey, everybody, this is why you should keep me on the team. Let's not think about a numbers game. I've got numbers too. Josh has numbers too. Let's look at the team dynamic. Michelle, you don't have a number one guy on this team. I could be your number one guy on this team. Josh has Casey. Theo has Jenny. Horacio has Nerese. And I was like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this, because I feel like that was being authentically true to myself. And, when it comes to Theo, to me, losing in the manner that I did, he may be all right with that, but at the end of the day, he just chased me down after 5 years of something like that. For me to go out like that, I'm not forgetting about this. But I'm also not going to be a sore sport about it on social media. I'll give him his flowers. He beat me fair and square, man to man. I could sit here and I look at every aspect of it. If it was a pole wrestle, I've got a good chance of winning using my wrestling, using my jujitsu. If it's balls in, I can use my agility. I can use my wrestling. If it's a whatever the elimination was called with the ropes and chains and all that stuff, give me shelter. That's kind of a 50-50 toss up. In a Hall Brawl, I kind of knew my chances going into it were slim, but in the way I think about things, it's like if I already tell myself I'm going to lose, I've lost. So I don't accept defeat until the loss happens. So like in my head, I'm like, I'm beating this kid. I'm running through him. I'm thinking of the best possible scenario. And, sometimes you just get fucking punched in the face and, you lose.
Sometimes you lose bad. And you don't want to watch the recording. And you answered actually a couple of my follow-up questions because I was going to ask about the deliberation and stuff like that. So let's move into, I think, what a lot of people really want to hear about. And that is your significant other, Cara. And I'm going to, you're Picasso. I'm going to let you paint. I just want to give you your say whatever you want about Laurel, Bananas, and their decision to vote in Cara Marie into this elimination. Just paint for us, brother.
Oh man, I mean, strategically it made no sense. But I already knew that it wasn't going to look good for her just because Laurel was doing the most. Like she was doing the most in the house, like every single. Like to be honest, Johnny was kind of chilling in his room. You know what I mean? Laurel was literally going to every single person, to make a decision. If I spoke to Michelle, Laurel was on Michelle right immediately after I was. If I spoke to Horacio, Laurel was talking to Horacio right away. She had the decision-making power on her team. I knew the outcome that she was trying to get. Bananas is a smart game player. So is he really going to fight back that much with Laurel on a decision that she's going to push for when if she's the one pushing for that, she becomes the target and he could kind of put his hands up and be like, I'm not going to stick my neck out on the line. You know what I mean? So I understand his decision-making from a team standpoint. I just think it was a dumb decision. I think it was a dumb decision because if you really look at the challenge as a whole, and a team dynamic, it's going to go down to individual at some point, but Aviv has no history on the team. She was the easy option there. I've like Cara being who she is. It made no sense to have her hit the elimination floor unless something was trying to be done to make sure that me and Cara hit the elimination floor at the same time to try and either get both of us out or one of us out. And I get it. Like the whispers around the house were basically like, Cara and Paulie are here. You've seen what they're capable of last time they were on a season together. We don't want that happening again, do we? And, even though there was a lot of people coming to me and Cara and being like, yeah, fuck a certain group of people, like they're going to sit there and yes, Laurel, and they're going to yes us. And, unfortunately, certain people were in power positions and they made the moves, and that's just how the game shakes out.
You did a good job summarizing the play-by-play of it all. I'm going to push you further. Give us your honest opinion on Laurel and her relationship with Cara. Just give it to us unfiltered. We're trying to drive up those clicks, buddy.
Listen, man, Laurel's relationship with Cara, I think it's toxic. I don't think they should be friends. I think Laurel has a really sleazy way of pulling Cara in and then beating her down. After All Stars 4, like Laurel was really friendly to Cara, like texting her all the time, calling her all the time. Like Cara legitimately was like, oh my God, like I think Laurel likes me. She wants to be friends. I think her beating me has finally like released this demon that she's held for so long. And I was sitting there like, I don't know, Cara, like be weary. I don't think that it's over. And even coming into this game, Laurel was very friendly, very friendly, very friendly. And Cara was like, oh, I think I can make some headway with her. I think it's going to be good. And wouldn't that be a really cool thing? Kind of like when Johnny and Wes broke bread. She'd be like, maybe Laurel and I get that moment of breaking bread. And I was like, it's not going to happen with her, Cara. And like, the reason why it's not going to happen is because the second that you were trying to be a true friend to her on All Stars 4, she got defensive. She got angry. She started screaming at you. She started taking low blows at you. It's going to be the same thing here. And she already has the entire house intimidated of her. I'm like, so the only chance you have is by showing her that you're not afraid of her and you're not going to back down in any capacity. Laurel, I think she needs to do a lot of inner reflecting. And I think she needs to let go of a lot of the demons that she has in there.
That's what I want. That's what people wanted. That's what people want. I know you got some thoughts in your heart and on your mind, and I'm glad we could hear it here. Before we wrap up, though, just some general ideas of like things to talk about. Who was the person from this whole elimination experience that surprised you the most? Like in your brief tenure there, like watching those eliminations and your interactions, who was the person that like surprised you the most, both positively and negatively?
I mean, I would say Derek, but it doesn't surprise me that he did what he did. You know what I mean? Like Derek just has something in him that's just built different. And he's built for these eliminations and he finds a way to win even when the odds are stacked against him. I give him credit. Somebody I was a little, I expected more from was Leroy against Tony. Like I watched Leroy and Tony's elimination, and after the first time Tony hit him, Leroy was kind of like, I don't really want any of that. Fast forward to mine and Theo's elimination, like I get concussed after the first hit, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to go in the second time and I'm going to run just as hard and I'm going to do the same strategy and whatever happens, happens. And like, it's stupid, but there's a certain level of, competitive honor that you need doing these things. And it's like, I'd rather almost die in the sand than walk away and be like, all right, I held up on that hit second time around. So he surprised me a little bit. Katie surprised me with just how long she scrapped with Anissa because she was so physically outmatched in that capacity. And, but she's a little fighter.
That had to be one of the most electric moments I've ever seen in an elimination, where the crowd was literally almost running onto the field when she put her legs around her neck. I mean, that was just fun to watch. I hadn't been that surprised watching an elimination since Amanda scored the point on Nia. So it was 10 minutes earlier, but still shocking.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say I'm surprised about Amanda's performance, but Amanda, I've always given her credit for being very sneaky athletic. So Amanda getting a point on Nia, I wasn't really shocked at because, even though Nia had the size advantage, that really only hurts Amanda in the defense position. But in the offense position, I expected Amanda to get points.
Those new balls in rules, I'm not a big fan of them, where all you gotta do is get to the second ring, basically.
Yeah. At least make the first ring bigger,
Yeah, for
they
sure.
only have like 5 yards of space between the ropes.
Well, especially if you're like the bigger person, you just got to basically drag yourself to that second rope, and then it's done.
Or just step in and fall. Like somebody Theo's height can step in and fall, and he's in the ring.
It's disappointing. I missed the old balls in. I know Cara broke her hand in the old balls in, but like, that was part of the excitement.
Maybe put some padding around the rims to avoid the hand breaking. But I get it.
All right. What are your last words for season? Well, you're going to be on social media, so you're going to have more words than this. But what are the last words you want to tell people in this interview about your experience, There's something they should know about Paulie Calafiore.
Honestly, I mean, the only thing I'm upset about is, they didn't get to see things bud more with me, Ryan, and Derek, because we were really honed in on like working together and kind of getting something going. Um, I think if I had a little bit more time, I maybe could have mended the relationship with Johnny and Cara. But I'm done. But like for me, they don't really highlight the fact of everybody that was kind of talking to make the elimination, be me and Cara going into the sand. So I've got a lot of vendettas, next time around. And, that's when I'm in my not give a fuck era, it's a scary situation for everybody else. So that's all I really got to say. It's going to be a great season regardless. I'm wishing everybody the best. Theo, it's not over. Vacation Alliance, it's just getting started. And that's it.
Wow.
I can't really say much. I lost. So I'm a humble loser. But next time around, the daggers are staying out.
Wow, you having beef with people. That's surprising.
Shocker. Who would have
Uh,
thought?
at least you also got your OnlyFans promoted by Ryan and in a way Derek before you went out too.
Absolutely insane. I never would have thought that there would have been the day that my OnlyFans is getting promoted on national television, but here we are.
And that tweet you posted was even crazier. Like that sent social media like wild.
I mean, listen, I'm known for a good tweet or two.
Well, it's been great having you. Great talking to you. Hopefully you're back for 41, 42, or USA 87, whatever spinoff they have next.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I've done enough to solidify myself as keep coming back, but you never know. I'm grateful for every call that the challenge gods give me. I'm always going to be myself when I come onto these shows, so I'm just here to entertain you guys.
All right. Well, you've been entertaining today. Been good talking to you, Paulie.
All right, thanks, Alan.